someone who actually believes that government has an important role to play, not in everything, but in certain areas and creating conditions for growth, has a strong vested interest in being responsible and demonstrating that governments can spend and invest and be responsible stewards of taxpayer monies.
Ah, a man who talks about responsible government. Long have American voters railed against their elected officials, demanding to know how and why they are so wastefully tossing our hard-earned bucks into the wind at ridiculous projects, and those that shovel those greenbacks right into their pockets, and those of their bosom carpetbagging buddies. All one has to do is saunter to the website for Citizens Against Government Waste and review their excellent, to-the-point, and damn those lawmakers wish it didn't exist, congressional ratings, which give us in detail those charlatans and hucksters who can't wait to use your cash for things such as studies on the inevitability of man-in-the-moon marigolds and other nonsense. Whew. Welcome back, the Vice President for Policy and Communications for the group we speak of, Leslie Paige. All right, Leslie, always a pleasure to see you. Talk some waste. And I love it when this list comes out, because we can actually start to look at it. The 2015 congressional ratings. Right off the top of your head, though, does anything surprise anybody anymore at your office when you look at these and see the stunning amount of waste that's out there, and it just gets worse every year?
Yes, it does, but I will say that we only pick people with a kind of a bottomless well of outrage to work at CAGW so that they can always be amazed. And we are always amazed at what we see, new things that come along. And, you know, back in 1989, we decided to start a scorecard. You know, that's not uncommon among taxpayer groups. So we started a scorecard, and we wanted to kind of pull out the votes that each member took every year on the House and Senate side that would have eliminated waste. These votes can include things like trying to beat back a bad idea, an amendment that's been included that, you know, we wanted to stop. So it's stopping bad things and supporting good things and that kind of thing. So we've been doing it since '89, and we just released the newest one last week. And we did 100 votes. We rated 100 votes in the House and 35 in the Senate. And there's the good news, top of the line, you know, top line headline is that the Senate increased its amount of superheroes, and that is members of Congress that got 100% or more on their voting record, a lot. They went up, so they were in good shape.
And I want to stop you right there, because let's talk about those superheroes for a second. 17 lawmakers, 15
Correct.
senators, 2 representatives, all Republicans. And Ted Cruz is in there. Marco Rubio is in
Correct.
there. When you call them superheroes, what does that mean about these individuals?
Superhero means they got 100%. So they got it right on every vote we chose. They actually voted correctly on every one of those votes. A taxpayer hero is anyone who voted with us 80% of the time, or with the taxpayers 80% of the time they voted. So anyone at 80 and above got a taxpayer hero award. And actually we've had some increases. I mean, the Senate did much better this year than last year. House essentially stayed relatively the same. I mean, statistically, they didn't move very much. You know, and I think in terms of other members of the current crop of presidential hopefuls, there's, you know, both Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton were senators at one time, and they had lifetime ratings, and they were very low. I mean, Hillary Clinton's lifetime rating was 8%. And Senator Sanders was 3%. So none of this is going to come to a huge surprise to anyone, I think, essentially, who watches what's going on the Hill. I will say that we had a couple victories and we had a couple losses. I would probably say, generally speaking, the losses tend to outweigh, because here we are with $19 trillion debt. But we are making some progress. We unfortunately start with the bad news, which is we lost the reauthorization of the Keystone XL pipeline. That veto, he overrode it, and then we were unable to override the veto, so we lost that one, and we also lost the reauthorization of the Export-Import Bank. On the upside, we had some interesting pluses. We finally got several good votes on Obamacare repeal in the House. And what was in here's just one example, though, of a small issue that most taxpayers don't know that's going on, but there was an amendment being offered in the House by some obscure member of Congress who would have stopped the Government Accountability Office from measuring overlap among climate change programs, meaning they didn't want the GAO to tell the taxpayers how many climate change programs we even have that we're paying for. And then we were able to beat back that amendment. But that's the kind of strange stuff that goes on that no one gets. It gets no press, but it is in fact very much a taxpayer-oriented issue that people are going to want to know about. I mean, who wouldn't want the GAO to measure how many overlapping programs we have for climate change?
Who wouldn't want to know any of this? Who wouldn't want to know? I'll tell you who wouldn't want to know. All the
correct.
all the lawmakers
you know
sitting
the answer
there
to this
who,
question.
when this comes out every year, go, damn that Leslie Paige! I'm going to have a talk
I know.
with that
I hope
woman.
they do. I hope my name strikes fear, but I suspect it's not the case.
I love it. Well, that's what we try to do every week, is strike a little fear, because it's okay. We'll strike a little of the right fear here, and we'll start to grow it. I want to remind
it's a carrot
everybody.
and stick, by the way.
Exactly. Go to the website, CAGW.org, and look for it. The 2015 congressional ratings are right there on the front page. You will find out the good, the bad, the ugly, and unfortunately, most of it's pretty ugly to begin with, but we got to keep pounding on them. Leslie, always a pleasure.
That's
Thanks
right.
so much for joining us. You have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again next week. Stay with us. The fastest 60 minutes of news, The Hard Line, continues.